when you go through training platoon, bro, our first morning, we had a guy and a girl instructor, and the girl was huge. She was like 6'2", stout. Her name was Sabula. I'll never forget it, Sabula. She was literally built like J.J. Watt. That's how she was built. And I just remember I woke up, and I'm getting my stuff together. Like I'm putting my uniform on, and I thought boot camp was hard. Boot camp was so easy compared to training platoon. Yeah, boot camp was so easy compared to training platoon was hard. I just remember she came in, and I met her the day before when I checked in, and she was very quiet but was polite. She just basically told me, this is where you're sleeping. You'll have this roommate. Nobody had a room by themselves. You always had somebody in the room with you. I don't want to say bunkmates because you weren't on bunk beds. You had beds on either side of the room. And you each had your own locker. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. And you each had your own locker, and you had beds on either side. But it was both your jobs to keep your room straight. If one side of the room wasn't right, they were trashing the whole room. And that's the first time I seen somebody trash my room because they say, everybody on the line, everybody get on line. And I hadn't made my bed yet. She walked in my room, and I just so happened to be in the first room. If I would have been in the last room, like the 20th room down the hall, I would have had my bed made by then. But I just remember she came in and looked at me, and I literally was like, "Good morning, Petty Officer Sabula." And she looked at me, bent down like a squat, and flipped my bed. And shit just went everywhere. And then she took my locker and took everything out and just threw the shit on the floor. Then she went to my roommate's side and did the same shit to his, but his bed was made. His locker was straight. I was like, oh, this is different. And then we just came out and we started they start going in. Push-ups, sit-ups, marching us around. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So anyways, the only difference between training platoon and boot camp, we had weekends off. We could actually go out in D.C. and stuff. And that was the first time I was on my own, and I had turned 18, so we'd always go to Georgetown and go to the bars and stuff to hang out. There's one called Crazy Horse, a big military bar. So you could like let loose, so to speak. But that's where people got in trouble, because if you were drinking and you got in any kind of trouble, you're out. The honor guard, they kick you out for the smallest things. One guy got kicked out of the training platoon. It was really easy to get kicked out. But the honor guard, man, one guy got drunk and took like a kayak along the Anacostia River and then came back, and they found out, and they kicked him out of the honor guard. Not the Navy, of the honor guard, because you can't, basically he stole the kayak for like 20 minutes and brought it back, and somehow they found out. And I was like, oh. And there's always little things they would tell us that I didn't know if it was true or not. There was like a big helo pad right next to our barracks, and they said that's the president's helicopter. You cannot take pictures of that at all. Now, we didn't have iPhones back then, so there wasn't you couldn't take videos and stuff. It was just everybody had still cameras. They said you can't take pictures of that. And it says along the fence, no pictures allowed or videos. But we'd see the presidential chopper, the one you see at the White House. That's where it stayed, right there on our base. And you'd see it come in. There was always guards and stuff around it. I was like, oh, this shit's real. But this is what I remember about the base. We were on Anacostia Naval Air Station, which is right by Washington Navy Yard. Bowling Air Force Base was right next to it. It was like you went from the hood to the suburbs, going from the Navy side to the Air Force side of the base. The Air Force shit was so nice. Their chow hall was nice. Oh, we used to go there all the time. I remember I used to get like 2 coney dogs and then some kind of cake and whatever, and it came to like $1.50. It was so good too. I was like, this is the best. I thought, does life get any better than this? That's why I remember how nice the Air Force facilities was compared to the Navy. And then one day I went to an Army base, and the Army had the worst. I don't know if it's still like that. Their bases was terrible. That was the hood, basically. So, out of the 40 or 50 people that I started training platoon with, and I'm not over exaggerating, when training platoon was done, we'd already lost about 10 guys in training platoon and girls. And then once we they call it, you cross. So what happens is when you're ready after 2 months of learning how to march, carry the rifles, things like that, you have to cross into the honor guard. And so one morning you wake up and it was on a Friday, and you just start marching around the base. And all the honor guard guys come out and they start yelling at you. They'll throw shit at you. Nothing to hurt you, but like literally, I'm not lying, like a tomato or a sponge or a baby powder. I mean, you're trashed by the end of this march. But then once you're done, all they were doing was preparing you in case you're in a parade or anything like that, and there's obnoxious people around. Like you see the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, or the ones in England, the guys that guard the Buckingham Palace. You know, those guys are trained that no matter what happens, they got to hold their composure, and you can't break, I don't want to say character, you can't break rank or anything like that. So when you cross from training platoon into the honor guard, they used to they try to break you, and nobody broke. So you cross, but the night after you cross, man, everybody got their ass kicked. So everybody's in their barracks. What you do, you move from the attic. Now you get your own room. And you could be rooming with somebody you was in training platoon with, or you could be rooming with somebody that's already in the guard. And so you move downstairs and you're just waiting. I don't think they would do it anymore, but you're literally in your room waiting to get your ass kicked because they just start coming. You don't know. You'd rather have it done early, like at 9, than 1 in the morning, because you hear them coming. I mean, there was 3 floors, right? First floor was just offices and the front desk and everything. The second and third floor was where everybody lived, all the honor guard guys. And then the fourth, which is the attic, that's where training platoon's at. So whether you're on the second or third floor, you can hear them coming, man. It's a mob squad, and you about to get whooped on. I remember when they got me, I was hanging on to the water fountain. And I was like perpendicular, just hanging on, and I had 8 guys. And they don't hit your face; they just beat the shit out of your legs. And the bad part is, if you have a smart mouth, and I had a smart mouth, but I was always kidding. Somebody always gets you in your rib or something like that. You're just all bruised up. They make sure they're not there to fuck you up, but it's like an initiation. So I look back on it, I was like, I was talking a little shit because I knew I was gonna get it anyways. So, so I was just talking shit, and I remember I was yelling, "Just come on! Come get me now!" I'm just sick of waiting at one point.